Hi there, guys. My name's Philip Privyet, and welcome to the channel. And today we've got another video for you, and we're talking all about how it is now much easier for Westerners, for foreigners to move to the Russian Federation. Now, what is this all about? What does it mean for you? And how can we help you to actually take advantage of this new scheme? So it's called the 702 visa, 702 decree, should we say. And this is the decree which a few months ago, President Vladimir Putin of the Russian Federation made a presidential decree to enable those in what is considered unfriendly countries at the moment to Russia, those people who share traditional Russian values of the Russian Federation can apply to the embassies within their home country and obtain a single entry visa under this new scheme to the Russian Federation, which then allows them to apply directly to the immigration department to convert their single entry visa into a temporary residence visa, otherwise known as the TRP. This changes things. This really changes the game because historically, just to get a TRP was extremely difficult. You'd have to come here normally on a work visa, maybe on a marriage visa, things like that. You'd have to study the language really hard, study the laws and the history of Russia, and then you'd have to take a test and you'd get a result from the test and a certificate, and you then have to use that certificate as part of the application process. That part now has been completely stripped away. So there's no longer any testing requirements for the language, history, or knowledge of the laws to apply for the TRP. What that means is now you can go to the embassy in your own countries and there'll be a process. Now, depending on which country you're from, the process may change and differ slightly. I found this out. I applied from the UK, and even then, because it's quite a new decree, there may be occasions where some of the embassies aren't familiar with it or actually don't know too many details yet about that scheme. So you have to do a little bit of digging. I emailed in a few times. I actually emailed the embassy in Scotland as well as the embassy in London and explained, obviously, I wanted to apply under this scheme for a visa. They'll then invite you to attend the embassy for an interview, fill out a basic application form. Actually, before I did that, I literally just got invited in on a certain date. They actually said the ambassador would like to meet you for an interview. So the ambassador to the UK, the Russian ambassador to the UK, met with me in the embassy in London. They talked through a few things. Why do you want to move to Russia? What do you do for a job? What are you going to do to support yourself when you're in Russia? Basic stuff, really, just to make sure that the right kind of people are moving there, because Russia doesn't want bad immigration. So many countries in the West, especially where I'm from, the UK, we're supporting bad immigration all the time. People that come over on the boat, so from the channel, and don't want to contribute to society, and they just want to sponge off the state. I'm sorry, that isn't going to work in Russia. If you come to Russia, you're going to have to do something. You're going to have to work, whether that's setting up a business like I have or getting a job. There's a lot of things for foreigners to do here, but you've got to possess the right skills and you've got to possess the right mentality to want to actually do something and not just come here and expect everything to be handed to you, because that's just not going to happen in reality. You've got to make things happen for yourself. But anyway, when you get past that interview, they'll then make you fill out an application form. You sign I guess I'd call it a bit of a waiver to say that I'm against the woke. And again, I know the specific terminology, but it's pretty much that you're against the woke culture of the Western society, and you share the traditional and spiritual and cultural values, conservative values of the Russian Federation, and you sign a declaration to that effect with an application form. You pay an application fee. In the UK, that was 70 British pounds. I'm assuming it's going to be pretty similar, pretty standard wherever you go in the world. I guess that's going to be converted to euros in the European countries, US dollars in the United States. But yeah, that's all going to be pretty similar. And they take copies of your passport, all that kind of stuff. Then you've got to wait. And for this particular visa, on the visa, it states, and it's a decision of the ambassador, he has the final sign off on it under the 702 decree. But then as part of that, they have to run a few checks on you. And they need to make a decision as well from Moscow. So they actually have to send off your passport and your application to Moscow. They then have to agree things and they send it back with the visa to London. So that process can take anywhere from 2 weeks up to 4 weeks. I think they say up to 30 days. It's like the latest when a decision will be made. But when you actually go in, they do tell you when you'll be able to come in for your passport. So there'll be a date on the receipt that you get after paying your application fee at the embassy. So then you have to obviously go and collect it. You'll then have a visa that has a date on it, and that date will line up to what you've stated on the application form. If you put a certain date, you basically have to travel on that date. If you don't, it may cause problems because you're not going to have the right visa. You have to enter after the date that is on it. So then you fly to whatever entry point you decide. Really, I was going to say Moscow, but it doesn't have to be Moscow. It could be St. Petersburg. It could be Stavropol. It could be Sochi. Wherever you might want to go. You can also enter via any airport or land border. So it doesn't just have to be by plane. If you're coming from some of the European countries that are closer to Russia, you can always cross in. And there's quite a few bus services that come across to Russia from the various European cities. You can't go via Finland anymore, but you can go via, I think Estonia is quite common, and there's Kazakhstan and some of those other countries along that border too. So there's a lot of ways to actually get here. And when you arrive, they'll have a look at your documents. There's probably going to be quite a bit of waiting around when you're here. And that's something that I always advise people on. You don't necessarily, not every single case is a matter of, look, you might be waiting for 20 minutes. You might be waiting for 3-4 hours. When I first moved here, I was actually waiting for about 5 hours at the airport. Now, that's nothing bad. When you're at the airport waiting, they're just doing the necessary checks to check you out, to check you're the right person entering. There's quite a few databases they need to check. Obviously, they're clarifying that you've got no criminal history, you've not come to Russia before and done anything that you shouldn't have done. They may check your phone. You may have to unlock your phone and they'll have a look through some of your recent messages and social media footage and things. And again, just to make sure you're not coming here with the wrong intentions. If you're coming to Russia, but you've posted a few weeks ago about supporting Ukraine in this conflict and you've been promoting things in that respect, then Russia's going to be like, why are you coming to Russia when clearly you're on the wrong team? So things like that. Just don't come here. Don't think you can come to Russia and have the wrong intentions. But if you are a friend of Russia and you do want to move here with the right intentions and you do want to contribute to the society here in Russia and embrace the culture, and although it's not essential, hopefully you will learn the language. And I think it is very important that you do that, even though they're not forcing you to anymore. then look, if all of those things check out, you're going to be absolutely fine. So like I say, there's a bit of waiting at the border. That can't really be helped. But then you'll get stamped into the country, and here you are. So now what have you got? So you've got a stamp into Russia. So that visa is used. They give you a migration card at the airport that states your name, address, where you're going to be staying, all that kind of stuff. It's very important that you hold on to that document as well. So don't lose it, or it can get a bit hard to get that replaced, and you're going to need it at later stages. So hold on to your passport, keep the immigration card with it, keep that safe. Make sure you've got a copy of it as well, a copy of your passport, a copy of the migration card, just in case. And also make sure you have that on you at all times, because you could be asked for it when you're out and about. You don't want any situations where you can't provide that document if and when you're asked for it. So anyway, that's that. So now you're in the country. What do you do? Now, many of you will get hotels, probably 90+% of you, when you first come here, you'll get hotels for a little bit, and then obviously think about what you want to do next. Now, look, we're trying to make that process much easier in terms of saying, look, you can actually have your own apartment. Why not line them up before you come? There's a lot of clients that we work with that come here and also prefer to rent a hotel for a few days or a week or 2 weeks, and then actually come out with this viewing apartments while they're here, with the view of obviously making a decision, signing a contract, then moving across to the apartment. So whatever you decide when you're here, whether you initially go in a hotel, whether it's an apartment, you need to make sure you're getting registered. And whoever you're staying with, whether it's an apartment and you've got a landlord, or whether it's a hotel, you obviously do the check-in at the hotel. You have to make sure you get officially registered. It takes about a week, and you have that registration document back, which we then add to the pack of documents that you need within Russia, which obviously you need for the next steps. Then it's a case of sorting out the rest of the documents that you will need for your medical exam. You don't actually need the documents for your medical exam, but you do need them in a way, because they check that all your correct documents are there before issuing you a ticket for the TRP interview and official application submission. So you've got to make sure that you have all of the legal translations in place for absolutely everything. So every document that you've got that's in English language, you need to make sure that you have a copy of that in the Russian language and a translation into the Russian language. That also includes your apostilles, by the way. I think before you come, all the police certificates, things like that, you need an apostille from the UK. It's a Foreign Commonwealth Development Office. There's similar agencies, normally part of the Foreign Ministry in other countries. In the US, it's the US State Department that sort those kind of things out. But then when you're here, like I say, you need the translations of all of that. You need every single page of your passport as well, a copy of that, the legal translation of everything. We then create that pack of documents, and we send you to the medical check center. It's basically an immigration center. So Moscow, for example, there's one place. It's probably about 2 hours outside of Moscow that you need to get to. Again, it varies city by city. There's normally a place depending on what region you're going to. Obviously, St. Petersburg have their own one as well. And you have to go to this place. So we send a representative with you that knows a way around like clockwork, that can actually show you exactly what needs to be done. There's obviously a process when you're going to the medical of different things you need to do. You obviously need to register initially. They then give you a little cup, which is essentially a pee cup. You need to have a urine sample that you submit. And then there's a list of about 5 different rooms that you need to go in. And there's a lot of queuing up and waiting to go inside different rooms to do various checks. You also need a chest x-ray, a blood test. They check the pee test. Urine test is to make sure there's no drugs in your system. So all that kind of stuff. So you get all the way around there, and then that's obviously complete. Then you need to get a ticket and wait probably another 45 minutes to an hour. And you need to be allocated a date in which you can come back and do the medical exam. Now, there aren't many of these dates available. They normally just give you 1 or 2 dates and say, look, what would you like between these? It's normally going to be somewhere between 2 and 3 weeks after that appointment. They'll tell you what time the appointment will be, and you need to return, I would say, a good 2 hours before that appointment to give you enough time to pick up the result of the medical check, and then obviously go along to your appointment, submit the application, all your documents, and then you also need 4 passport photos, which you're going to obviously submit along with your application and all the documents. They'll have a short interview. They'll ask you probably similar things that they did when you had your embassy interview about why you're here, what your intentions are, what you're going to do for work, all that kind of stuff. And then they'll allow you to obviously submit the application formally, and it's just a waiting game after that. It takes up to 4 months to have a response back with an approval for your temporary residence permit application. The other issue as well, potentially with that, is that your visa that you initially entered with is only a 3-month visa. And the whole process, you're probably looking at a good 5 months before you get everything back from actually coming here, then applying, and then actually getting the TRP. So obviously your visa is going to expire. So if it expires due to the fact you're waiting for the temporary residence permit, you've got 2 options. You can either exit the country, and then once things are approved, you can come back after that date. Or if you want to stay in the country, you can apply for a special extension of the visa, and they'll just extend it month by month until the TRP comes, and then that will obviously replace the visa and the extensions that you've had. And again, it's stuff that we can help you with. We can obviously help with all of those arrangements, but these are pretty basic things that you need to be very aware of when here, because if you don't do it and your visa expires and you don't get the extension, then you'll be in a bit of a sticky situation where you're here without proper visa, and obviously you want to stay legal and everything. You don't want to be getting into any unnecessary issues here when you don't need to. So yes, it's thinking about all of those things. It is, like I say, quite a long process. If you're using the right people that know the system, know how to navigate it efficiently and effectively, then you won't have any problems at all. And like I say, some of the most basic things here can be difficult. So it's about using people that are going to help you move forward in the best way possible so you don't come unstuck in the wrong places. But anyway, that's pretty much it for now. And if you've got any questions or queries, you can obviously give me a comment in the comments section down below. Please do subscribe to the channel. It does really help us out with the YouTube algorithm. And we are also on Telegram, so the link's down below for you to join our Telegram community as well. And we do read every comment. We do get back to you. If it's something you don't want to put in the comments, you can also send us a message or email, or there's many other ways to get in touch with us, and we'll send you a direct response to that as well. So until then, good luck, and I look forward to seeing you in another video very soon. All the best. Cheers.